Hello and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news, broadcasting live and then available on demand on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, or the Fire Stick, plus YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It is Thursday, December 8th, 2022. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we are going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
Well, we begin this evening with some breaking news. The U.S. House passes the Respect for Marriage Act and sends it to President Biden for him to sign into law. This morning, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Respect for Marriage Act and have sent it to President Biden to sign into law. It passed the Democratic-led House in a 258-169 vote with one member voting present, as 39 Republicans joined all Democrats in supporting it. In a Wednesday op-ed in the Washington Post, outgoing Speaker Nancy Pelosi wrote, quote, "Just as I began my career fighting for LGBTQ communities, I am overjoyed that one of the final bills I will sign as Speaker will be the Respect for Marriage Act, ensuring the federal government will never again stand in the way of marrying the person you love," end quote. In a statement issued this afternoon, President Biden said today, quote, "Today, Congress took a critical step to ensure that Americans have the right to marry the person they love. The House's bipartisan Respect for Marriage Act, by a significant margin, will give peace of mind to millions of LGBTQI+ and interracial couples who are now guaranteed the rights and protections to which they and their children are entitled. After the uncertainty caused by the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, which restricted abortion in America, Congress has restored a measure of security to millions of marriages and families. They also provided hope and dignity to millions of young people across the country who can grow up knowing that their government will recognize and respect the families they build. On this day, Jill and I are thinking of the courageous couples and fiercely committed advocates who have fought for decades to secure nationwide marriage equality at the Supreme Court and in the Congress. While we are one step closer on our long journey to build a more perfect union, we must never stop fighting for full equality for LGBTQI+ Americans and all Americans. And, you know, I saw the signing ceremony. The president hasn't signed it yet, but part of the process is for the leader of the Senate and the Speaker of the House to sign it. And Nancy Pelosi has been in this game she's been the leader for 20 years. She's been here for 50 years. Yeah. She's jaded. She's over it. But you know what? Today I saw a look of genuine happiness in her eyes. Like they always know the measures that will make a noticeable impact in people's lives. So I think that's what this bill does.
It's a big win. It's a big win for the Biden administration. I mean, really. I mean, and like you mentioned too, it's good to see that it was bipartisan. You had people across. You had Republicans joining in. So definitely a big win for this administration.
Well, also bear in mind, though, not to be the bearer of bad news or being Debbie Downer.
Well, okay then. Victor, what do you
shut you down.
39. Well, there were 39 Republican votes for this particular bill. An earlier version had 47. In other words, 8 Republican representatives got cold feet supporting the final version. And bear in mind that there's still 169 no votes, all Republicans.
I think, though, it's still refreshing, given the current climate and all the ways that things have been rolling backwards in our community at this point. So, you know what? It's a step in the right direction, and I'm just thankful that those Republicans that did co-sign did so.
Yeah. Applause to this particular current Congress.
I love how you worded that. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's also a little bit comforting knowing that like other queer people now and in the future can get married, and there's still some sort of promise. And while things are still swinging back and forth, there's that little bit of like, yeah, we feel good about that.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's definitely a win.
It is most definitely a win. We don't know when President Biden will schedule a signing ceremony. He says he hopes to do it quickly. I can't imagine him just doing it in his office as part of paperwork. I'm sure there'll be a thing. And I look forward to that because it will be a truly historic moment. And I look forward to that. All right, well, let's begin with some introductions now. I am John Hayden, your anchor at Queer News Tonight. Al has the night off. This evening, we bring you the news of and perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it. Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio model of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ plus community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspot Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 37 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus community and broader and beyond.
Absolutely. Well, let's welcome Evan Almanzar, a trans student at JP Taravella High School, where he is deep into the drama and intrigue of his sophomore year. God bless you. He has been speaking publicly out as an advocate for mental health and queer student rights since the age of 12. A lover of writing and nature who often enjoys both at the same time. Evan was a member of the Don't Say Gay rally this past February, where he said, quote, "On Queer News Tonight, I want to make people hear us as a student body, as well as members of the LGBTQ plus community, and let them know how they can help." Howdy, Evan.
Hi, you stole my line. Great to be back for the second time this week, but let's welcome anchor Victor Diaz-Herman. He is a first-generation Cuban-American advocate, activist, fundraiser, and strategist. He serves as the CEO of Pride Lines, South Florida's oldest direct services agency for LGBTQ people. He is also COO of Worth International Media Group, with exclusive brands such as Recommend and Preview, in the business of creating stylish, engaging, and content-rich media solutions for global travel and tourism industry for over 50 years. Good evening, Victor.
Good evening, Evan. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. And before I introduce our next anchor, it is my pleasure to inform everyone here that this weekend we are celebrating Pride Line's 40th anniversary at our annual Masquerade Ball, which is taking place at the Coral Gables Country Club. So if you haven't purchased your tickets yet, or if you want to come and join us as we celebrate 40 years of service and commitment to this community, you can do so by visiting pridelinesmasquerade.com. I hope to see you all there. And now let's welcome anchor Carvel Estraplet, founder of Carvel Bikes, the only LGBTQ plus bicycle business in Wilton Manors. Carvel Bikes has moved to a brand new location in Wilton Manors on 6th Avenue, next to Bravo Peruvian Restaurant. She's an unapologetically proud Black trans woman and member of the Wilton Manors Community Affairs Advisory Board. She also serves as the Deputy Director for the Florida Democratic LGBTQ plus Caucus. Good evening, Carvel.
Hey, and it's wonderful being back here, guys.
How's the new location?
It's wonderful, and the location is actually 2917 Northeast 6th Avenue.
Okay.
You can add it on here. So let's welcome anchor Dr. Barbie Hugh. Dr. Barbie Hugh is the owner and principal mediator of BH Conflict Resolution Services. As a certified civil family mediator, Barbie helps individuals, families, and businesses resolve their legal disputes nationwide. Outside of work, Bobby is a gamer, a Lego builder, a foodie, an art collector. He's always open for a chat if you see him walking on the drive. That's true. Welcome, Bobby.
Thank you, Carvel. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Thursday, December 8th, 2022.
When we move on and we queer up LGBTQ plus civil rights. America celebrates Pansexual Pride Day and what that means. Today, December 8th, America is celebrating National Pansexual Pride Day and the strides taken by the pansexual and panromantic community to be accepted and understood. The term has been more visible in recent years through pop culture as celebrities, including Miley Cyrus, who have identified as pansexual. Pansexuality allowed the LGBTQ plus community and beyond to push how they view sexuality, gender, and romanticism. It continues to create a more open and accepting space for everyone to explore their identities. Here's a quick and proud timeline of National Pansexual Day. In 1914, the term first appeared as pansexualism and was described as sex being the motivator for all things. Some things never change. In the 70s, the definition was changed and used to describe a sexual orientation after people began using the term as an identity. In 74, the New York Times published an article mentioning the term, putting the term pansexuality forward and helping raise awareness. In the 1990s, the term sexual fluidity was coined and used throughout the queer community as a way to better understand pansexuality. In 2010, the pansexual flag appeared on the internet in the colors pink, yellow, and blue. Its purpose was to represent trans, intersex, agender, bigender, third gender, non-binary, and fluid orientations. In 2018, the fabulously talented singer-actress Janelle Monáe publicly identified as pansexual, which led to the word being one of the year's most searched terms. And I did not realize it was Pansexual Day. I'm glad that we're here to spread it, because as much as we talk about all the letters in the gay acronym, we don't talk about pansexuality much.
He gets forgotten a lot.
He does get forgotten a lot.
And we always forget that sexuality is really a spectrum. So, it's great to find out there's a day for that. But yeah,
I think it's equally refreshing. Like the last story, that we now have a day to call attention to a part of our community that often feels unseen or unacknowledged. And I love that it's a national day.
Yeah, I'm pan myself, so knowing that we have this day, because we have bisexuals that we're commonly compared to them, but there's more of differences. I like to describe it as I love who you are and not what you identify as, because I love people. You know, I don't really care where you are, and it's really nice to know that we have a day and we get to be here and look over the history and of the title and how it's evolved over the times. It's just really great.
Yeah. And, I think that by having this day, we get to learn.
We do.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for all of us to learn. I don't know everything there is to know about the G, much less the L, the B, the T, and everything else. So you know what? Rewind this, listen to the timeline again, and learn a little bit. Because you have pansexual friends. Just talk to them about it. You may not even know it.
Yep, they're there. Now it's time to queer up the USA View. Virginia restaurant refuses to serve anti-LGBTQ plus organization and ignites right-wing charges of discrimination. A Richmond, Virginia restaurant refused to serve a group from the Anti-LGBTQ plus Family Foundation, citing the restaurant's desire to protect its LGBTQ plus and female staff. The restaurant shared an Instagram post saying, quote, "Metzger Bar and Butchery has always prided itself on being an inclusive environment for people to dine in. In 8 years of service, we have very rarely refused to service anyone who wished to dine with us. Recently, we refused service to a group that had booked an event with us after the owners of Metzger found out it was a group of donors to a political organization that seeks to deprive women and LGBTQ plus persons of their basic human rights in Virginia," end quote. In a blog post on the organization's website, Family Foundation President Victoria Cobb compared the situation to Black people being refused service due to their race during the 1950s and 60s, stating, quote, "Thankfully, in 1960, 34 brave Virginia University students held a peaceful lunch counter sit-in at a department store in Richmond to demand service at a whites-only counter. They were convicted of trespassing, but, after a tremendous legal battle, were vindicated by the U.S. Supreme Court," end quote. The incident has sparked a debate about whether refusing service to any type of group should be acceptable. How do you guys feel about that?
You know what's depraved?
Yeah.
You know what's depraved?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you what's depraved. This organization compared himself to civil rights movements of the 60s.
Yep.
That's depraved. They're, I want to say kudos for the restaurant for saying, hey, we're refusing, we're not going to be part of this hateful group. But the audacity saying, "Oh, we're comparison that this is a civil rights issue." No, stop.
It's almost disrespectful. To me.
It is.
Oh no, it's not almost.
It is
absolutely.
I was teetering the ledge, but it's
It is absolutely disrespectful. I mean, we are just hearing a Supreme Court case just a couple of days ago about whether, cake makers or website designers must make cakes for LGBTQ customers.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and say, "Oh, you're discriminating against me." That's their embracing the victimhood is the newest.
That's the new thing. That's the new thing.
Oh, I'm the victim. I'm getting canceled. Actually, the blog post supposedly called itself "Canceled Again," and also it attached a fundraising pledge because
What's the answer to every question?
Money.
Yeah.
For me, it's a testament to the fact that people just don't care until it applies to them.
Yeah.
And now they know what it feels like when we get discriminated against, when we go into
Yeah, but they won't care. Doesn't matter if we discriminate against them, they are just going to be, we must discriminate against gays. That's their goal. That's literally their goal.
Yesterday we had a similar discussion on the show about, I'm sort of I'm the proponent of, do you love all, serve all, and it's the public accommodations, and I usually tend to be on that side. You should serve everyone who comes into your restaurant or your business. I take exception in this case, though, because I believe that the difference here is that these people are coming in as a group. They're not just, 5 or 6 people from the same club to celebrate a birthday. They're coming in to hold an event, and they can put up on their media, on their marketing, come see us at this, the family foundation at this particular restaurant. So you can't go in someplace into any business you want and make a spectacle of yourself.
Because then
because the restaurant
would support that.
Because they will think the restaurant supports it, because it could make employees or other guests feel threatened. So I really feel that there's a very bright, distinct line in the public accommodations law, because they're not coming in to just come in and just have dinner and talk amongst themselves. They're there to do like we're doing right now, have a very robust and probably loud conversation. I apologize to the audio guy if I'm screaming into my microphone.
I think, also, this is a group that is an anti-LGBTQ organization.
Yeah.
And this restaurant is doing their part to protect their LGBTQ staff and female staff.
They should be allowed to do that.
They should be.
It's a little funny almost, because they're here and they're saying all these things and they're trying to host this event, but they've almost taken it to be like, oh, now we're the minority.
Oh yeah,
that's exactly.
Now we're the minority,
and it's very, like I said, we use that word. They use the depraved. They're the depraved ones. They're saying that their issues of, oh, I want my right to hate a group of people. I want to be
my First Amendment right.
No. So you're not going to be, you're going to shut that down. So that's what I'm saying. It's not. It's the audacity of the comparison. She said to civil rights. That's
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And on that note, let's queer up South Florida and Florida.
Yeah.
The Don't Say Gay bill, or Don't Say LGBTQ sponsor, charged with multiple counts of fraud. The Florida lawmaker who sponsored the controversial law critics called Don't Say Gay and others called Don't Say LGBTQ has been indicted on charges of defrauding a federal coronavirus loan program for small businesses. Officials said Wednesday. Florida Rep. Joseph Harding, whose biography lists him as a, quote, home health care executive and a member of the Chamber of Commerce, allegedly, quote, fraudulently obtained, end quote, more than $150,000 in funds from the Small Business Administration. He is being charged with 2 counts of wire fraud, 2 counts of money laundering, and 2 counts of making false statements. Harding, a Republican, became nationally known this year over his sponsorship of a law that forbids instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade, as well as material that is not deemed age-appropriate for older students. According to Florida Politics, Harding's home health agency is located in Ocala. After state redistricting created a new electorate, Harding moved to Ocala to become closer to his job and ran for House District 24. Despite uproar and concern from teachers, parents, students, lawmakers, and advocates alike, Governor Ron DeSantis signed the bill into law in March, sparking a chilling groundswell of similar legislation throughout the country. According to an August report by PEN America, at least 137 bills in 36 different states have introduced educational gag order bills in 2022. Harding won re-election in that new district in November, but his political future is now uncertain. And good.
Yeah, it should be.
Good.
I mean, we shouldn't be surprised, because how many people with righteous agendas end up doing things like this, fraudulent things, or end up having, we find out about the abortions that they pay for, and good. He shouldn't be in a.
Oh, found out.
It might surprise another Republican DeSantis crony, this being deceitful and scamming around. This is what this party does. That's what they are.
I can't help but roll my eyes at the entire situation, because are we really surprised for a country that knows that politics is just a game of like whose face values better?
Ooh, preach, Evan.
Yeah. Here you go. Amen.
And it comes back to an old slogan that I think goes back to the Egyptian times. Karma's a bitch.
Who said that?
I think it was Nefertiti. I'm not sure. Yeah, but no, karma is. And the ironic thing and we were discussing this in the meeting before we recorded the show, is that he probably voted against believing that COVID is an actual thing. Yeah. So he stole money from a relief group for something that didn't exist.
He didn't believe
so that probably means it's not a crime.
So yeah, he's going to use that.
Wait. Was the money even real?
Ooh. No, I think it was all in
it's all very
Bitcoin.
real.
That part is real. That part is very real. And he took it for small business administration.
Yeah.
And as a small business owner, I'm just saying there's a rampant fraud. That money is taken away from legitimate businesses that needed it.
Yes.
So that's another thing too. I have no bad feelings about this guy.
billion-dollar corporations took PPP loans.
Yeah.
Churches, mega churches took PPP loans.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in the rush of helping everyone in America, the regulation was played fast and loose, and there wasn't a lot of rules about, who can do what, and therefore rampant fraud existed.
Oh,
Well, let's just say I hope he ends up sharing a cell with Brett Favre. You can be his wide receiver.
I was going to say Matt Gates. I was going to say Matt Gates.
Matt Gates too. There you go.
But he's too old for Matt Gates.
All right, let's cheer it up with queer trans rights.
Yeah.
Lizzo brings trans activism on stage during the People's Choice Award, proving that she is a true practice of what she preaches when it comes to community empowerment. Lizzo uses her acceptance speech at the People's Choice Award to champion diverse coalition in activism, including 2 trans activists. The singer received 2 awards at the ceremony, which took place in Santa Monica on Tuesday. Both were equally deserved. The first was Song of the Year for About Damn Time, and with the second being the People's Champion Award. According to the Billboard, the honor recognizes someone who uses their platform to fight the important social causes and embodies being a champion of the people. The singer spent the next 5 minutes of her speech sharing this honor, encouraging the audience to make some noise for various activities and people. They included Jayla Rose Sullivan, and who Lizzo described as a professional trained dancer who makes sure there's a safe place for trans and non-binary performers in the dance community. Considering that very few other celebrities have used their platform to speak out explicitly against the ongoing attacks of trans people in the U.S., especially trans youth, Lizzo's dedication was truly being an advocate for the people, making her more than deserving of this award in our books. And it's well deserved. She is a champion of our community.
Lizzo plays again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's honestly really amazing how she's highlighting them, not just for their transness, but for their careers.
Yes, what they do.
Yep, absolutely. And how amazing their careers have been as well.
And how about we just quote her? It's about damn time.
It's about damn time. Exactly. It's about damn time.
And I really appreciate that that she's using her platform to highlight people of trans experience and the stories of our queer youth who so sadly face so much discrimination and bullying in schools, at homes, and in church. And I appreciate that she's out there advocating for our trans community members.
Yeah, she is comfortable in her own skin,
Amen.
and that lets her be an activist for everybody else who may not be so comfortable.
Exactly.
That said, 5 minutes or longer for an acceptance speech is too damn long.
No, for in this case, it's taking a second.
No.
The orchestra is playing you off.
When they played her off, it was like about damn time.
Let me tell you, if you think 5 minutes is too long, don't come to my gala.
No.
And that's this Saturday, right?
That's this Saturday.
Yeah,
We'll keep
yeah.
you entertained. Lizzo might be there. We don't know.
No. Well,
Whatever to sell a ticket.
well, let's queer up the worldview. The court rules Aruba and Curacao must extend same-sex marriage rights. A court on Tuesday ruled that Aruba and Curacao must allow same-sex couples to marry. The Joint Court of Justice of Dutch West Caribbean countries has jurisdiction over the three constituent countries in that group, including Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin, and 3 special municipalities, Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Saba, within the Netherlands, issued a ruling in 2 marriage equality cases that Foundation Orgullo Aruba and Human Rights Caribbean in Curacao filed on behalf of 2 women who want marriage rights in Aruba and Curacao. The ruling said, quote, "The court has come to the conclusion that extending same-sex marriage is in violation of the prohibition of excluding same-sex marriage is in violation of the prohibition of discrimination and incompatible with state regulations," end quote. Same-sex couples cannot legally marry in Aruba, Curacao, and St. Martin. The countries, however, must recognize same-sex marriages from the Netherlands, Bonaire, St. Eustatius, and Saba. Cuba, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Martin, and St. Bart's are the other jurisdictions in the Caribbean in which same-sex couples can legally marry. Aruba's registered partnership law took effect in September 2021. Action 21, the centrist party that's openly gay Senator Miguel Mansour chairs, in June introduced a marriage equality bill. Janice John Key of Human Rights Caribbean on Tuesday told the Washington Blade during a telephone interview the ruling could take effect as early as March 7th next year if the Curaçaoan government does not appeal it to the Dutch Supreme Court in The Hague. First, I want to apologize for every mangled pronunciation of Dutch names during that entirely read-through.
Bobby, I would suggest you just book yourself on a 14-night cruise through the Caribbean and just learn them and visit them each individually. You'll be better for it. Trust me on that.
Well, and secondly, good for the Dutch and good for the, and I think that it is, well, about them time. Okay, we're just gonna keep using that phrase just today. But we are, I think, partly obviously the part of the Caribbean that are more likely to grant same-sex marriage right now are basically territories that are run by EU countries, France and the Dutch respectively, and of course the United States, where Puerto Rico is the territory of.
Right.
Throughout the Caribbean, there's still our LGBT siblings in the Caribbean. They're still facing a lot of
So much hate.
Right, yeah, there's so much hate.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Dutch island, the group of Dutch islands making that step forward is an important thing happening. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think 1, it's a step in the right direction, right? 2, now we have to face the systemic homophobia that exists in those countries so that our queer brethren are protected and can live their lives openly. But also I was surprised that it took a court ruling, because I know Curacao has been promoting themselves as a queer-friendly destination. So it's surprising that they didn't take that initiative on their own.
Yeah, destination. But don't move or bring the wedding.
Yeah,
party.
exactly.
Yeah, but
we want your money in that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a pink dollar. It's the pink dollars at work. I mean, queer tourism is a huge industry, and some countries even they ban same-sex marriage. I mean, Israel. Israel promotes the pride a lot, Tel Aviv pride. But they have no gay marriage.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I am split on this story and how I feel about it. Obviously, marriage is very important, and it is it should be a universal right. We shouldn't still be having court rulings or votes or anything like that. It should just be a universal right. But that said, I'm also not loving that this came from a court that is basically based in the Netherlands or taking its orders from the EU, because it is a remnant also of colonialism, which holds a lot more insidious roots in this part of the world. And so the fact that they're still being dictated to by Europeans is very disturbing for me, but marriage should also be legal, yes, across the board and around the world.
Movement forward is movement forward. Yeah, absolutely. But next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral's Sunday international service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm Gabe Salazar, Artistic Director of the Gay Men's Chorus of South Florida, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
So exciting. Gabe and the chorus is going to be here at Sunshine Cathedral in a week or so, and then a night with Shoshana Bean, the legendary Broadway star, down at the Hard Rock the next night. So I'm looking forward to both those. And if you can get tickets, because they're just about sold out, you should definitely get one. But we move on now, and we queer up the worldview. Finally, lesbian basketball star Brittany Griner has been released from Russian prison and returned home. In February, WNBA star Brittany Griner was arrested while in Russia, charged with smuggling after a small THC cartridge was allegedly found in her luggage. She was sentenced to 9 years in Russian prison, a very steep sentence many believe was increased unduly due to her sexuality. In July, talks between the Biden administration and Russian officials began as part of a plan to exchange a Russian prisoner for Griner and Paul Whelan, who has been arrested and in custody since 2018 for espionage. Early this morning, Griner was returned home, first in Dubai, where they did, the UAE, where they did the exchange for a Russian arms dealer, Victor Bout, who has been held by U.S. authorities and has the nickname Merchant of Death, and he is a notorious arms dealer. And usually when someone pleads guilty, we can say, oh, they have admitted the crime. In this case, it was a complete judicial sham. She, if she did have it, didn't she have it, we will never know, because part of getting the diplomatic process rolling to get her home was she had to admit she was guilty and had to be sentenced. Now, fortunately, it's come full circle, but by no means, she was not arrested for drugs. She was a prisoner of war. This happened in the run-up to the invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. She is black, lesbian, and American, the trifecta of hate in Moscow. This was absolute international diplomatic showcase theater and not a damn thing otherwise.
Yeah. Diplomacy is always difficult. It is not as easy as people think. It's not all cocktail parties and shenanigans. And, it's not James Bond. But the prisoner exchange is very Bridge of Spies, I have to say. It's very, you approach there and meet in the middle, and then one person go one way and the other person go the other way.
Russian TV had that video. Have you seen it? Yeah.
It was very Bridge of Spies. Yeah. It was like Cold War all over again.
Yeah. Wow. But you I'm sorry, just let me get one question. You deal in conflict resolution. Now, obviously, you're not dealing with on an international level, but some of the same foundational principles hold true. So what really went on from February to today?
Well, what happens is, I mean, Russia really won Victor Bout, probably. That's what they want. And of course, the Biden administration did not abandon Paul Whelan, but unfortunately, Paul Whelan is held on an espionage charge, which is a much more serious charge than having a THC cartridge. The problem with, demanding that either none, both or none, is that diplomacy doesn't work like that. You always bargain. You always move a step forward, even if that step is not all the way towards what you want. In mediation, I always say that, if you are way too happy, if one party is way too happy, I didn't do my job, because that means that there's no compromise. One side is winning, the other side is losing. At this point, especially in international relations, I believe that the Biden administration did its best to get at least one person out. And bear in mind that the Whelan family actually expressed the fact that they are not uncomfortable with Ms. Griner getting out before Paul Whelan. The fact that if abandoning efforts by not getting Paul Whelan, then Ms. Griner is just going to suffer. And one less person suffered, the better.
Yeah. Now, Carvel, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it's welcome home, Brittany. It's glad that she's back here. But I just also want to highlight that she, for the last, how many months she was locked up?
9 months.
Yeah, 9 months in a Russian gulag prison, and how stoic she is. She went through. And then also I want to highlight when she was in trial, she had the support of her teammates who came into the courtroom to testify.
Her Russian teammate. She was playing in Russia to play ball for them. Yeah.
Yeah, playing for that thing, just to clarify that. But I just want to highlight that, and it was great to see that this morning her wife was in the White House, in the Oval Office with Biden and things like that. So it's been an ordeal. And then there's like the other person who's being held, their family came out too, like Bobby just highlighted too. So
yes.
Well, there's a lot of inhumane things going on in the entire situation. I think those Russian teammates coming to show that's showing some bit of humanity.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something. There's something still there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to bear in mind that the government is not the representative. It's not always the representative of the people. People, we don't want the rest of the world to think that Donald Trump equals America. Then we should not let people think. Then we should not bear the assumption that Putin equals Russia.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we separate the government from the people themselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Now it's time to queer up the USA View. Club Q suspect officially charged with hate crime and murder.
No longer shielding their once beaten and bruised face, the Club Q shooting suspect appeared in court Tuesday morning and heard the charges. 305 counts in total, the most filed in a mass shooting case in Colorado.
When you file 305 counts in a case, that tells the public, this community, this state, and this nation that we are taking this case as serious as we possibly can.
They include multiple counts of murder, attempted murder, and bias-motivated crimes for what happened the night of November 20th in Colorado Springs.
We're not going to tolerate actions against community members based on their sexual identity, those types of things. Members of that community have been harassed, intimidated, and abused for too long. That's not going to occur in the 4th Judicial District.
If convicted, just on the murder charges alone, the suspect could spend life in prison without parole.
They will serve the remainder of their life in prison without breathing free air again.
But it may be a while before the families of the 5 people killed in the mass shooting and those injured get justice.
We have a lot of obligations already, both of us, that are going to make it difficult to get something scheduled in early spring.
The defense already signaled it hasn't yet received much of the evidence it needs to make its case.
We are not going to be ready. We will not be effective on that date.
The suspected Club Q shooter has now been officially charged with murder of 5 people at the LGBTQ+ club in Colorado Springs. On Tuesday, December 6th, suspect Anderson Lee Aldrich was formally charged with 305 counts that include first-degree murder, assault, attempted murder, and bias-motivated crime, which is just another word for hate crime. According to a report from CNN, Aldrich appeared wearing a prison jumpsuit in court as District Attorney Michael Allen detailed the formal charges. 5 people were murdered at Club Q on November 19th. Ashley Paul, Daniel Aston, Derek Rump, Kelly Loving, and Raymond Green Vance. Nearly 20 other individuals were injured and sustained gunshot wounds. As previously reported, a military veteran and a trans woman managed to hold down the gunman and slam the pistol down his skull in order to stop these senseless acts of violence against the LGBTQ+ community at Club Q. Formally charging Aldrich with these counts is the first step in a long legal process that will lead up to a preliminary hearing and a subsequent trial. That preliminary hearing has been set for February 22nd, 2023. So there's still a long way for this process to go. Our hope is that justice is served for the victims of Club Q and their loved ones. I'm so sorry to those families, and I'm honestly just so tired of hearing stories like these over and over again.
Yep.
And for it to take so long for justice to be properly served. And I hope that, as they said in the interview, he sits in jail for the rest of his life.
Well, they say the prelim is set for mid-February. That probably won't happen. This is going to be delayed and delayed. So this story is going to be around for a while, but he's not out. He's not going to get bond.
He's still sitting in.
He is going to be a thing. Yes. Carvel?
Well, for me, I'm just like, it's like this highlight. It's another story like this, and unfortunately, what really worries me is this is just the beginning of this type of hate, active violence against our community. And I'm not saying wishing that happened, but just saying this shooting right here in the rhetoric that's coming around from the Republican Party, and then all these stories of people, and of course these bills against, and the state here that for me, it just makes me worried that we're going to possibly see more violence.
It takes one fuse to be lit for the rest of them to explode. So honestly, we have to sit back and cross our fingers that nothing else goes wrong.
And we can squarely point that blame at some people who are using us as punching bags. LGBT. I mean, first the gays, and then the next thing, the women, and then the Jewish people. We're always somewhat of a punching bag. And now, thanks to certain celebrities, the hate is not even, hidden anymore. It used to be, it's now fanned, it's now open, it's declared mightily on Twitter, and allowed in, and broadcasted, and propagated, and spread by the chief twit himself, Elon Musk.
Yeah, I'd like to bring this back to something positive out of this story. The people who held down the gunman, and
that's a feat in itself.
And one of them was a trans person, and that takes me back to Stonewall.
And
who started Stonewall? Who threw the first bricks?
We're the first one here. We're the first to jump in, and I'm not surprised that it was a trans woman that jumped in. I mean, when we were doing the read-through, I said, if it was me, that guy wouldn't be standing. Believe me. Believe me.
He wouldn't have walked out.
There won't be a match. But looking for the silver lining, that the first were the black trans women. Trans women were the first to stand up, and that's silver lining.
And before we move on, I just want to. I'm sorry. Do you want to say something?
No, I was gonna say, and I'm sorry to bring it back down from the positive, but the reality is that the repercussions are not severe enough. Putting someone in jail for their life is not enough for taking the lives of multiple people, for going into a space and just flat out shooting to hit and kill just because you don't like who they are. And harming, exactly. Something needs to be needs to be done so that people who even consider this think twice about it.
Gun control.
That's the
gun control issue.
And I'm sorry, I don't have an opinion really. I struggle with death penalty. But if you have the audacity to go in and take people's lives from them, you should go in knowing that that's what's going to happen to you. It is unacceptable, and you shouldn't have access to these weapons. It is unacceptable, and for me, I think it hits close to home for all of us, right? Because we're queer people. We know that this happened in our own state. When the Pulse massacre occurred, but I run a community organization. I could run a community center. My doors are open for anybody to come in and access services. Who's to say that one of these people isn't going to walk into our center and do the same there? And centers across the country, they need to have fear.
And not just that, the shooter is only the tip of the spear here. What is propelling that tip are the politicians and media personalities who spread hate and disgust. Fear-mongering. You know, they are basically practicing domestic terrorism, demonizing.
They're absolutely domestic terrorists.
Absolutely.
They're demonizing an out group in order to improve their own, in their own political and social standing. In other words, why are we not? I mean, yes, free speech is great and all, but when is the speech becoming acts of terror?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can't yell fire in a theater, but that's a lot of what social media is. It's yelling lies and stoking fears and things like that. But before we move on, I just want to say the names of the victims one more time, because they deserve to be remembered more than just a line. We need to say their names more than we say the name of the person who's accused of killing them. And that's Ashley Paul, Daniel Aston, Derek Rump, Kelly Loving, and Raymond Green Vance.
Now, let's queer up entertainment. First look of Elliot Page cover of upcoming memoir. Get ready to read all about Elliot Page. The actor, producer, and activist has announced a new memoir, Page Boy, which is set to be released next summer. The actor took to Instagram to share his feelings. The post said, quote, "Writing a book has come up a few times over the years, but it never felt right, and quite frankly, it didn't feel possible. I could barely sit still, let alone focus long enough to complete such a task. At last, I can be with myself in this body. So, I've written a book about my story. The act of writing, reading, and sharing the multitude of our experiences is an important step in standing up to those who wish to silence and harm us. Books have helped me, saved me even. So I hope this can help someone feel less alone, feel seen, no matter who they are or what path they are on." End quote. Page has quite the story to tell. He started acting in Canada at age 10, and by 20, he was starring in movies like Hard Candy and Juno, the latter of which earned him an Academy Award nomination. He continued starring in big projects, including X-Men movies where he was the object of homophobic bullying by director Brett Ratner. In 2014, he came out as gay, being one of the biggest Hollywood stars to do so. Honestly, I have so much respect and appreciation for Elliot Page. He has not only been public about his transition, but also stands as an advocate and wants to use his platform to help others step into that same strength in order to do the same. And so I really do appreciate him.
Yeah. It really brings me hope about how open he was about the entire transition, and while there was absolutely backlash from it, how sort of welcoming most people were about the situation, how quickly we adapted to it, because in reality we just want people to be who they are, comfortable in who they are. And now that Elliot feels comfortable in their own skin enough to write a memoir, that's honestly so amazing, and I'm truly so happy for them.
It takes a lot to write a memoir before you're even 30.
That means you've been having you go through a lot.
Yeah.
But you know, just to piggyback on what you said, it's great that you have a celebrity who's sharing their transition. They're inspiring. They are inspiring young people to be themselves and have no fear. And Elliot Page could lose everything, but no, I'm going to be myself.
He still gains something from
it. Exactly. Yeah. And it is definitely inspiring. So
to really figure out who I am at the same time as someone so public about it, it's just like, damn.
That is courageous. Yeah, it is courageous. Yeah. So
I'm adding it to my Amazon book list at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. First, second, it's in Barnes and Noble. We're going.
Yeah, you know, I have met Elliot. I have not met Elliot since he announced his transition. I was lucky enough to meet him back in the day, back in the Juno days. But just the way he's had to live his life publicly, or has chosen to live his life publicly, certainly. And, he's going to look back at those days, because when he was in Juno, he was playing a woman, a teenager who was pregnant, and he's
playing a woman.
and I choose that word. Carefully, but he's going to be able to. He owns it. He says this was my journey, and he's okay with those clips playing because that's how he was at the time, and even if he was uncomfortable, he expressed it when he came out in 2014 as gay. I believe he came out as a lesbian. He didn't come out as trans until just a couple of years ago. And kudos to the Umbrella Academy. Usually when one of your stars goes through that kind of personal change, well, we'll just write you out or we'll recast the role. They rewrote the role for him, and so and I think that's a sign of where Hollywood is hopefully moving as we go forward.
The other thing, it's just for any trans person, when you transition, it's already messy enough, but having to top it off that you're a public figure and had the choice to even walk away, because the reason I'm saying that is just that it's I have to keep emphasizing how courageous that is, because I'm actually in my transition being filmed and to have that, and you mentioned that. So Ellie Page having that resume out in the public and on films on there, and that's what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Carvel? Oh, it's my turn. Sorry. Queer politics. Herschel Walker's Miami gay son. Reed's father's Georgia elections loss. After Herschel Walker's defeat in Georgia in the tightly contested runoff race for U.S. Senate seat, his son Christian, who earlier in the year supported his father, tweeted the following: "Don't beat up women, hold guns, people's heads, fund abortions, then pretend that you're pro-life, stalk cheerleaders, leave your multiple minor children alone to chase more fame, lie, say stupid crap, make fool of your family, and then maybe you can win a Senate seat." End quote. Christian Walker, once considered a warrior for the right by the New York Times and self-described free speech radicalist, is a conservative social media star and staunch Trump supporter. The young Walker previously supported his father run for the U.S. Senate against current Senator Warnock. But his sentiment began to change when the Daily Beast reported that his father, who's performed a staunch anti-abortion, paid for a girlfriend abortion back in 2009, tweeted to share the thoughts saying, "I know my mom. I would really appreciate if my father, Herschel Walker, stopped lying and making a mockery of us. You are not a family man. You left us to bang a bunch of women, threatened to kill us, and had us move 6 times in 6 months, running from your violence." What a mess. Where I can start. First of all, this kid, Christian Walker, he's confusing. He's confused. He's very confused. And him coming out trashing his dad, I mean, obviously it doesn't help. Herschel Walker is brain damaged. I just want to, I wonder what to say for that.
He's not the speaker at the Mensa convention.
No, he's
we'll
not.
Most definitely
he's not.
say
Not
that.
even that. Not even the doorman.
Yeah,
No. I mean, the truth is Walker got where he got because the guy in Mar-a-Lago says so.
Yes.
And the guy in Mar-a-Lago promoted him, and he got elected over more electable candidates in this race against Reverend Warnock. And honestly, I would thank the man in Mar-a-Lago to give us an actual beatable candidate so that Deep Red Georgia keep the Democratic senator. So thank you, man in Mar-a-Lago. Yep, not saying his name. But more to the point is, as a family mediator, obviously, this kind of airing of dirty laundry always makes me like, oh. Yeah. Because once it gets out there, people are going to be hurt. And when you're hurt, you want to go on the attack. And that makes reaching a settlement so much more difficult. But that's not part of this thing. But what I think the thing is, Mr. Walker, the young Mr. Walker, should really think about where his politics lie and where, where he thinks that which political group supports women, supports people LGBTQ like himself, instead of demonizing those people. I heard that he say that he
says he's not gay, but if you see him in person, he's very flamboyant. I'm not judging that, but he also claims that he loves having sex with men, but he's not gay.
Well, to be honest, I don't think he should be. I don't care how cute he is.
Yeah.
He should stay on the hetero team if he's gonna
bash us.
If he's going to bash us and stand behind that type of
procreate. Now we don't need another one of them.
Oh no!
I mean,
well, I mean, there are a lot of kids coming out of that Walker family, so I'm sure someone would procreate.
But I mean, he's suffering from internalized homophobia. You said that in the run through. I mean, it's so obvious, and in him, of course, all the issues that his family is going through, and then him being confused. We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
I wish him some deep self-reflection.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's family dirty laundry being put out in a very unfortunate way, because at the end of the day, they're still a fammy.
Oh, they all need counseling.
And it's not, and unfortunately, it's not the only case of high-profile political family problems.
Yeah. Well, and that's my cue. So let's queer up the USA view. Ted Cruz's 14-year-old LGBTQ plus daughter releases a video after a suspected suicide attempt.
Hey, I wanted to address this on my own because the media is completely altering the story and causing my mental health to be exploited for their gain. Honestly, I think it's sick that they're using a 14-year-old as a publicity tool. I also don't enjoy the assumptions on why I did what I did. No, it had nothing to do with my sexuality or my father. I'm not suicidal, but I am experiencing some mental issues, and I'm working through it and getting the help I need. Thank you so much for all the support and love. It means a lot to me. But the most traumatizing part of this experience is how public it's been. I'm feeling a lot better, and I'm so happy to have a great support system, but I would prefer if y'all didn't make bold statements about what this is when you truly have no idea what is going on. Love y'all. Thanks.
The authorities were called to the Republican U.S. Senator Ted Cruz's Texas home late Tuesday over reports that a teen had self-inflicted stab wounds. Houston police responded to a call that said 14-year-old had stab wounds on their arms. The teen was rushed to the hospital. The representative for Cruz told the Daily Beast, quote, "There were no serious injuries. The family requests that the media respects their daughter's privacy at this time." End quote. Caroline posted a TikTok video a few hours after the alleged suicide attempt. The video was captioned, quote, "Before you all ask, yes, I am reading from a script. I had a lot to say, and I wanted to say it right, so I'm sorry if it sounds superficial. Thank you at Finn and at Kat for being the best friends ever," end quote. In the video, she said she does not want the media and others to leverage her mental issues in their favor. She also requested viewers not to assume anything. This incident, however, has once again directed our attention to the fact that LGBTQ plus youth are more than 4 times as likely to attempt suicide than their peers. If you are having thoughts of suicide or are concerned that someone you know is going through this, help can be provided at 866-488-7386. And I'll repeat that, 866-488-7386. That's the Trevor Project Lifeline. User can also access chat services at thetrevorproject.org/help or text START to 678-678. You can also dial 988 for immediate assistance. Well, I mean, suicide is no joke. I mean, I have family members who went through this. I have friends who went through this, and this is heartbreaking. I feel bad for Miss Cruz, not because, partly because, she is living under a microscope. Yeah. Her dad is such a, her dad is not just Republican, he is staunchly anti-LGBTQ. We're not talking about Rob Portman's situation here. We're talking about Ted Cruz, who would basically vote against every single thing that would potentially benefit the LGBTQ community.
The thing that stuck out for me in the response statement, not from her, but from the family, was it totally misses the point of what happened. It says there were no serious injuries. The serious injuries from suicide are committed long before the actual suicide attempt happened. So the fact that they're not grasping this or this kind of washing over them concerns me. And I don't want to. And I agree with what his daughter said. We shouldn't sit here and make bold proclamations, but we can, as you mentioned, admit that LGBTQ plus youth are so many more times likely to not be able to have the language to verbalize their issues or the resources to be able to ask for help.
When you are told your whole life that something's wrong with you, something, you're either you're abomination or, you are, against nature, whatever the excuse for homophobia is from your family. When you are being told that your entire life or hide who you are because of what you hear other people say, it's incredibly difficult to come up to say, I need help.
But you see, it's just, I don't know, I can't, when you're reading the story, the sense of, irony, like, you have Ted Cruz, who is staunch anti-LGBT, and LGBT youth were, like I said, more likely to be suicide and things like that, and he's voting for programs, he is part of the agenda that's attacking our community, and then at the same time, he has a daughter that's going through this stuff. I'm not saying we're not, like I said, not putting it on top of it, but I can't let the sense around. You have this guy, her father, who is going after our community, and it's
even if they say it's not the main cause, it's not going to help.
It's not going to help.
No,
it does not help. Yeah,
it does not help at all. But that bears. But bear in mind, though, I actually just came to my head. This is not even the first time it happened. Dick Cheney has a lesbian daughter. Dick Cheney, engineer of Bush's second term, Bush Jr.'s term. Remember the Bush Jr. re-election campaign of putting anti-gay marriage amendments on every ballot available. Dick Cheney has a gay daughter. Liz Cheney has a gay sister.
Right. But to be fair, though, to Dick Cheney, and God, that's a hard phrase to say, he did not support the federal marriage amendment or the mini DOMAs that were on states, which is, of course, the exact opposite of what Ted Cruz is doing in the Senate now. Victor, you want to say something?
No, my observation of this, and I understand that she referenced in her TikTok post that it was a scripted video because she wanted to make sure that she had her thoughts aligned. It still came across as not genuine. Exactly.
It's not,
it calls the attention of her, brings to the, she references her father, and it felt more like this was a political, an opportunity for Ted Cruz to make it known that he's not the reason why she took this or tried to take her life. I also find it odd that the family references the media and asking that the media not make assumptions, but then shortly after an attempt, she goes on to social media to make a statement.
My question about the entire situation is how did the media find out in the first place? And not only that, but she mentions about how it wasn't a suicide attempt and that she's getting the help that she needs, and I really hope she is, because mental health is no joke. And I hear the descriptions that they use to describe the entire situation, and it sort of makes my skin itch, because to have your own experience be put out like that, such a private thing, it does more harm than good. And I don't understand why she would do that in general, putting herself even more under a microscope viewer. And I truly hope that everyone understands that while you are going through things and while you feel like there is no one there, there's always going to be someone who understands it. They may not fully know the experience, but they can empathize with it.
Yes.
And there's always some other way out, and I really hope she's okay.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I just realized we did 2 stories in a row about gay children of Republicans.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, to closing out, this that was today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience, watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspot Magazine, happening out television and Queer News Tonight.
I'm John Hayden, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Evan Almanzar, Victor Diaz-Herman, Carvela Striplet, and Dr. Bobby Hoon.
Yeah.
We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And I'm going to go get a hot beverage too. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you a very happy good night.
Yay!
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.